carry that same thought or have heard it enough to think the same thing that everyone else seem to perceive black men as not being there for their family.
No, because I'll just say it. I grew up in Jamaica, and so all the men I saw were black,
and they were being fathers. Right.
So I didn't have any other black men are doing this compared to other men. All the men I knew were black, and there were some people in my family who, or even just around who, had gone to jail for whatever reason,
or were deadbeats maybe.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a black man is a deadbeat compared to who. Right, it was just some fathers are deadbeats. Yeah, some fathers are deadbeats and some fathers aren't, and that's just. What it is. It wasn't. It wasn't a comparison between black men and white men or Hispanic men or anything like that. So that possibly didn't affect the way that I view things. And also, when I was younger, I wasn't thinking about marriage and kids. Right. I was focused on me. And when I got to the point where I was thinking about marriage and kids, then I was looking for somebody who had those qualities. But I wasn't looking for that until I wasn't looking for that until I met the person that I knew I wanted to do that with. Right. So, my perception is going to be different, and I can't speak for every other woman.
But that's good.
I think that she actually is speaking on a general term. You just got to pick it up in the right way. She has her perspective on the situation, and that's her perspective. But there are different versions of the perspective out there, and your culture and your upbringing do shape your perspective. It does. Because I will say, for a lot of American women that I have encountered, they generally don't think about the husband thing. They just happen to stumble on it, and then they're like, okay, then he's a deadbeat dad. And then you keep hearing these stories. But, it's the father is a two-stage. Well, basically, there's two main factors that play into it. Number one, does the guy aspire to be a father? Two, does he have a role model to shape that fatherhood that he has? Because if not, you're starting from scratch. And we are all human beings. We all make mistakes, and that's how we learn and grow and be better. But not everybody wants to grow, learn, and be better, and not, everybody wants to do that. And also, we have another problem, too, when it comes to, saying that black guys are deadbeats, because believe it or not, there are some of them out there. They do get played, and that's why the stereotype is still prevalently there. But I will say, because I gave this dude so much props, never even met him, heard him on the phone, talking to his kids, because I was Ubering one time, picked up a lady, her two children, and she was dropping off at school, and she was going to drop her back home, right? The father was on the phone, he was working, I think he was away out of state, and he's sitting there talking to the children. The children are like, we love you, Daddy! Daddy, when you coming home? Daddy, we miss you! Like, what did this dude do to get this type of attention? Normally, the kids like, oh, I want mommy! No, they were like, mommy here. No, we don't want mommy, we want daddy. And there was one boy, one girl, and it's like, how'd you do that? Like, literally, because most guys, I'm not like, the children aren't pining after mommy. They're pining after daddy. So, that is really something that was great, and I did compliment the man on afterwards. Great. I mean, and great. I told the girlfriend, I was like, yo, he's father of the year. Like, that is amazing. But I wish you could be advertised more.
Yeah, go ahead, Boo.
I think kind of what you're saying is that I think that every dad or every male or that is absentee is not a deadbeat. Like, you could be away from your kids for whatever reason and still very much be in their lives, especially in 2018 when we have FaceTime and every kid has their own cell phone. And there was actually a rapper, I won't say his name, and he doesn't have a good relationship with his daughter's mom, and she has.
I'm not gonna call her.
Yes, but the little girl's of age, and so he actually doesn't speak to her. And I'm not commenting on their situation, but he's just like, I call my daughter. No, I call my daughter, and we make arrangements, and I talk to the nanny, and we are both in their life, and we're co-parenting the best we can. And it might not be ideal, but at the end of the day, she sees her mom and she sees her dad, and it probably would be great if she could see them communicate and work as a team. But right now, that's not happening. Well, so they're co-parenting, but I wouldn't say either parent is absent. And the little girl sees both of her parents, pretty frequently.
But that perception that's out there, I think that perception doesn't even cover those type of situations. That perception is defining one thing: the man who has the child leaves and isn't heard from or run into him 15 years later.
You're taking.
No, see, you're going deadbeat.
Yeah,
right. That's what I think that perception.
That perception is painted by, and I'm going to say it's painted by Hollywood. Right. I think it's painted by Hollywood and media. Okay, it's painted in the media, and it's we write a million stories about that because that's how we want to perceive black men generally. Because how many movies can we list where there's an absentee white father, even though that's just as popular, right? Because the lower income white man has the same issues as far as issues with alcoholism and all the other stuff. So I completely agree with Fortunate as far as that's not a broad thing that is advertised and that's made whatever. But I will say this, that the media isn't out to promote positive black images, period. Man, woman, neither, right? So they're not going to paint a positive black image. I think it's up to us at some point to realize that this game ain't ours. We just happen to be a part of it. And I think us as black people, we're just going to have to, deal with our stuff until they catch up with it, because we can do what we can to change that image. But if you know in your life that you have positive male figures, that's what you need to promote. And that's what we need to teach our kids. And that's what we need to... and I'm going to cut into one other really brief topic. And as a woman, I'm going to take some ownership for it, even though I don't have kids and I don't do this personally. But women out there who are being petty for reasons, if the guy left you, now you have a child, and that's the only thing you have to kind of be mean to him in whatever way, it doesn't help.
Definitely not.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't help. So just, do what you can to get over your hurt, and let's just get it together.
But you touched on a really good point, and I'm going to probably take it to more of a broader thing, whereas in the situation happens, there's a lot of external factors that influence the situation. Perception, we're talking about being one of them. But at a certain point, we have to take ownership in what's going on and playing the game to where we come out ahead. Mm-hmm. Even though the game is not in our favor, we are at a disadvantage, we can still win. It's a game. And every game has rules. Rules can be played, and you can play to win. You can play not only to get yourself ahead, but you can get your community ahead. You can get people around you, your environment, your family ahead. But right now, as a society, and as a black society, because I always ask people this all the time, what happened to the 60s? The 60s where black unity was at an all-time high. 70s and 80s, it disappeared. 90s, it was about just money and grinding. But in the 90s to 2000, it got worse, whereas it just came about one's money, your own money. You would screw over somebody else for your own money. And it happened, and it imploded in the black community. And the father thing, it was attached to that. Right. And basically, if you look at traditional, let's say, couples in marriage and how that's supposed to go, when you look at the man's role, the father's role is supposed to lead, have that vision for the household, have that vision for the community. And when that, again, is not there, where do you end up? You don't have a path to follow. And that's, again, tying into everything. So that's something to take account too. But we have to take accountability now in saying, this is where we are. Where do we want to go? Do we want this stereotype on us? Do we not want to have a path? Do we want our future to just fend for themselves? Or do we want them to build on something so that we can start a legacy that goes on into the future? Not just about black men, but about humanity. Because we are a part of humanity. We're not just... See, I'm at the end that right there, because the bigger thing for me is just the black thing. So I'm gonna take this to a personal level. Oh,
and so to personalize it, so my mother could have done what Boots was talking about, Ryder, but my mother chose not to. Even though her and my dad did not end up being together for the long haul, my mother made certain that she used every opportunity that she could to make sure that we got time to spend with our father. Now, they got a little bit harder, a little bit later when he went to jail, but here nor there, the bigger thing is even when he was in a situation that's as messed up as that, and that is as low as that, she still was like, y'all are going to visit him, I'm going to take you, will do whatever, but she wanted us to establish a relationship with him. Because she understood that it takes two people to raise a kid, and if you do not have any interaction with your father after a certain point, you probably are not going to become the kind of man that you want to be, or the man that she would want you to be. So I definitely give shout outs to my mom, but I also give shout out to my dad. Like, he was like, look, like, son, I done fucked up. This is something in a path I don't want to ever, I don't ever want these roles to be reversed. I did some things. I'm now having to pay for that, but I want you to learn from that so that nothing goes in and that nothing happens to you at all. But it's a bigger problem in the black community that we don't have that kind of thing going on anymore, where people are willing to take a loss on one instance and be like, you know what, this relationship is dead. It's not going anywhere. It's not gonna happen. But we did have this child together, and I want you to be in your child's life, because I know plenty of men who turn out to be ain't shit, but I know very few of them who are in, two-parent households who end up being not shit. I know many women who are whatever negative connotation you want to use. I'm not going to put one out there because, we already do enough against women, and I'm trying to make certain that Everyday Black Men podcast, we speak about the uplifting of black people. I mean, those other races, they're going to do it right. We do cape for Asians sometimes, and of course sometimes Latinos. But, and of course, every time for the native people of this region. And if you don't like that, fuck you. But one thing that we definitely need to do is that when we are raising up women, keeping that, following that life, it leads to hopefully her having a more balanced life. Because I know a lot of women who the only attention that they got was their mothers, so they never leave that. Or they're always looking for a father figure because they didn't have that. If you have a more balanced thing, you can be like, look, this is the game. This is what boys are going to do. This is what men want. It's all about that one thing, Lauryn Hill to the maximum. But we need to keep that kind of stuff alive and keep it going on. But, Fortune, I think you were about to say something?
I do have something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryder. Go ahead, Ryder.
I have something to add on to that.
All black people don't look like you.
Right. What's going on here?
The one thing that I do want to say that I find is very detrimental in my life when it comes to being raised is mistakes. I find them very, very important, and it actually helps shape me as a man and what I want to do. I got to look and realize this is a person I don't want to be. So I constructively worked on that, focusing on not being that. And like with your father, because my father, not similar story. He was in my life. He did what he had to do to the best of his ability. But it wasn't enough. But it was at the same time, because I got to learn about mistakes, about when you do this, you can have hopes and aspirations, but if you don't put in the work and the time and the money, it's not going to happen. And, I learned from those mistakes, and me moving forward, I want to teach other people, especially young black men, because as a man, that's what you're supposed to do. It's about passing the mantle on, passing the baton on to the next generation. Yeah. That is something that is a part of a man, regardless if you're a black, Hispanic, Latino, whatever. You pass that baton. That's the definition of a man. And I learned that, through my father, even though that he did fumble. But at the same time, I couldn't thank him for it, too, because he's taught me in a very important lesson. He
fumbled, but you caught that baton.
I did. And even though that he wanted to pass on something, just didn't know how to pass on, I learned and took that baton, and now I'm running with it, changing it, and actually making the baton better, so when I pass on to the next generation, the grip is better. It comes with knowledge and information. It comes with, aspirations. It also comes with an important message. Your journey is your journey. Find your way. Yeah. But when you're there, we will be there to support you. We will help you be the best you can be so that we can be better as a society. So it was really great that you said that, learning about your father and how important it is. Because even then, a father that you consider as a deadbeat, he's a lesson to the child on, this is another type of human being that's out there. Which one are you going to be? Right. Everybody has to make that choice. You can't just say, oh, you're a child, you're my child, so you're going to do this. We all like to do this, parents. Even in people in this room, you want your children to be good, but they have to make that choice. It's on them to make that choice. They're a human being.
There's examples that's out there, and that's kind of how my situation went. It was, this is the example. Do you want to be that or not? I had to choose. No, I don't want to be that.